Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading some Christmas horror books. So just like in the last couple of years, I am going to be reading some Christmas horror books because it is, obviously Christmas time and like the cute, cozy Christmas books are not really my vibe. So something scary sounds much better to me, especially because like Christmas is like in theory supposed to be, cute and cozy. So I feel like something scary is like the opposite of it. So it's an interesting mix. And I do in general have fun with those stories. So I am once again reading some Christmas horror books, and I read some short stories, I read some novels, I read some novellas, and I actually got through like more books than I expected, like a lot more than I expected. I started like at the beginning of the month. I think I actually started like on December 1st or 2nd to, try to also help me get into the Christmas spirit. And this is all like spoiler free. I just talk about the, premise of the book and then my thoughts on it. And yeah, let's just get into the video. Okay, so I had a lot of options I still have a lot of options of Christmas horror books to read, and I was not sure like which one to start with, but I decided to actually start with Candy Cane Kills Again because last year I read Candy Cane Kills, and so this is like the sequel to that. Although like these books are part of a series that has like other books, but they were not Christmassy. So I only read Candy Cane Kills, and now I read Candy Cane Kills Again. So basically, like in the first book, we are following some characters that like go on like a holiday on Christmas, and they stay over at a house that they later learn that it was like the site of some killings, and that Candy Cane is like the one who killed the people and like burned down the house, I think. And we see like how they are trying to survive because Candy Cane is back. And in this book is kind of like the aftermath of what happened in the first book. We continue to follow like the survivors of the first book, and also Candy Cane, and like Candy Cane getting revenge on like all the people that hurt them in the past. And it was very gory, it was very intense. And honestly, like, it was way sadder than I expected. And, like, maybe I should have expected it because, like, the story is pretty sad. Like, it already was in the first book. But in this second book, like, we learn even more about the past of Candy Cane. And it was pretty sad. But it was, like I said, very gory, which is, exactly what I wanted. It was definitely not as, like, Christmas heavy as the first book. Because, like, the first book was set, on Christmas Eve. And there was all this talk about Christmas. And in this one, like, it was on the next day, so, like, Christmas Day, but, like, Christmas was not really the point of the story. They didn't really, like, talk much about it. So, yeah, definitely not, like, as Christmas-focused as the first book, but I still really liked it. And, like, the ending was exactly everything I wanted from it, so I still really liked it, and I am giving it 4 stars, which I think is also what I gave the first book. So, great start to the video. I'm having a lot of fun so far. And I think I'm going to read like one of the short story collections next. I have like 3 or 4 downloaded. So I'm going to choose one and I'm going to read them. And they're like pretty short. And it's not like I can talk in depth about the stories because they're short stories. So, I would spoil everything. So yeah, I think I'm going to read one of those next. Okay, so I did read a short story collection called 12 Days of Christmas, I think. And did it have 12 short stories? Probably. I actually didn't count, but I'm assuming it had like 12 short stories. And they were all obviously, focused on Christmas. And they were either like set, I mean, I guess technically they were all set on Christmas, like around Christmas. But like some were in the present, others are like about the, creation of Christmas, I guess. And they talked about different Christmas legends, myths, whatever, and also just, people in the present during Christmas. And I really liked the first few short stories, and I really liked the last few short stories. It was just like the ones in the middle, like two or three in the middle, that I didn't like as much. And there was one that was like divided into three parts. So like it was the first one, and then it had like the second part in the middle of the book, and then the third part was like the last short story that I also really liked. And I was like very invested to get back to that story, so I was really liking it. And it definitely was like more heartwarming than I was expecting. Like, yes, it was horror, it was scary, but like the ending was not exactly what I was expecting, but I actually liked it. But overall, like, it was very creepy. It was fun in like the creepy horror way, and I had a good time. I didn't absolutely love every single short story, like I said, but overall, I did have a good time, and I think I'm giving it 3.5 stars. And yeah, I still have, so many horror Christmas books, and I am very excited to get into them. And there's like a long one that I'm gonna get into, and I'm not even sure if it's actually a Christmas horror book, but we're gonna go with it. But probably while I'm reading that long one, I will read like something shorter in between, and I will tell you about it. But I'm not yet sure what it is gonna be, but I will, read something, and I will be back. Okay, so I have read a short story, which was, very short. It was 20-ish pages. That was called Christmas with the Dead. And basically, we're following a character whose name I already forgot because I am really, really terrible with character names. But he was basically determined to enjoy Christmas in a town where he was the only one left alive. Everyone else was a zombie. Like, the zombie apocalypse had happened. And either like people had turned into zombies in the beginning, or they had, turned into zombies in the upcoming months. And he was the only one left alive. And he was, like I said, determined to enjoy Christmas, to celebrate Christmas. So we follow him as he goes outside and braves the zombies and fights the zombies, and as he goes into like the store to get decorations, to get food. And it was very fun. And the ending was also like kind of heartwarming and like really cute in a way that I did not expect. And yeah, like it was super fun. It was, very short, so there's not much that I can say about it other than I definitely had fun. And I just honestly wish it was longer. Like I wish I had more time with this character because it was super fun. And maybe not like a full novel, but like a novella length definitely would have been nice. But then I saw that there is a movie with the same name. Like, I'm assuming it is inspired by this. So like maybe I will watch that movie because like I said, I wanted more time with this character. And yeah, I had fun. I'm still not entirely sure if it's like 3.5 or 4 stars because like it is so short. There's like not really much of it. But what there was of it was really fun. But I will give my final ratings at the end. Anyway, again, had a great time. And the next book that I talk about will be, a long one that I think I mentioned before that I would read. So yeah, this one was very short and the next one is gonna be very long. So I am reading the long book that I told you about, that I'm not even sure if it's actually like a Christmas horror book, but when I looked up like Christmas horror books, it was on the list, and I mean it is definitely horror, and that there's something called Christmas Land on it, but definitely not like a very Christmassy, except like for that. But I'm gonna go with it because it's a book that I was already like interested in before, so we're reading it, and I am definitely like past the halfway mark. I am actually 71% in, and I didn't update when I was halfway through because like I was 35% in on Thursday, and then Friday, which was yesterday, I like listened to a lot of it while I was like doing some lab work, and also like on the train on my way back from my house to my parents' house. So I just got to 71% and I had no way of updating when I was halfway through. So I am here now. And the book is Nos 4A2, which only when I started listening to the audiobook did I realize it was supposed to sound like Nosferatu. Had no idea before, because like when I read it in my head, like I didn't make the connection. It didn't sound like it to me. But then when I heard like the start of the audiobook and then the narrator saying the title, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And so there is a serial kidnapper in this book called something Manx, and he kidnaps kids and takes them to Christmas Land, which he says it is like a place in his head, but he like, takes them actually somewhere. He kidnaps them. And we follow Vic, who when she was younger had like a run-in with Manx, but she was able to escape, and many years have gone by, and now Manx has kidnapped her son. And like this is the synopsis basically. And so like I thought this was going to happen, early in the book, but actually like he only kidnapped her son like maybe 60-ish% into the book, and definitely over 50. So I was not expecting like that to take so long. And so he now has her son, and she, obviously wants to get him back. And like the premise sounded, very creepy, scary, horror, and I was interested. And like in the beginning, I was interested, but it's moving very slow. Like I said, I was expecting like what happened in the 60% point to happen like in the beginning. So it's going very slow, and we spend a lot of time just like with the characters, living their lives. And like the parts that are scary, but overall, it's just taking a lot of time to get to the point. And I am not loving it. And it is very long. So it's taking me, a while to get through, and I'm not really enjoying that time. I'm not really loving that time that it's taking me to read this. So yeah, there's that. But I have 30% left. If I just listen to the audiobook, that will take me like 2 hours-ish. So, it's doable. It's fine. Like, I'm not hating it. I'm just not really liking it that much. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm going to finish it, and I will be back. Okay, so I finished Nos 4A2, and I continue to not really like it that much, and I continue to honestly be kind of bored by it until we got to like the last maybe like 50-ish pages where there was like a lot of action happening, and so it was a bit more entertaining, but still it wasn't really like my kind of book, I guess. And I did like the magical elements that we had with Manx and Vic and another character as well. Like I did enjoy that part, but overall it just didn't really work for me. I was just really kind of bored, and it was very long, and also the writing style again didn't really work for me. And actually like I was listening to the audiobook, and at the end there was like an author's note, I guess, where the author was talking about like his ideas for this book, like all the different ideas that he had to combine in this book. And I actually thought that was really interesting, and like I wish I had loved it, because from reading that author's note, I was like, this sounds really cool, but then it just didn't really work for me, sadly. So yeah, I think I'm giving it like 2.5 stars because like I didn't absolutely hate it, but also I didn't really like it. I did, like I said, like the, magical elements and like how that worked. And again, after like hearing why the author like wanted that specific like magical element, that made it like even more interesting. But overall, it just didn't really work for me. And yeah, I think I'm giving it 2.5 stars. Okay, so I read a novella that was called The Christmas Morning Massacre, and this one, like in the beginning, we get one or two chapters where it talks about, I think it was one chapter actually, like sort of a prologue, but I don't think it was called a prologue. Anyway, two girls in the same town, like in 2 consecutive years, were killed by, the same killer supposedly, and like the murders were never solved, the murderer was never found, and now, like in the present, many years after that, a bunch of friends go to spend like a few days before Christmas together, and they are like in that town, and it's like a bunch of girls, like 5 or 6 girls, and the brother of one of the girls in like the same house, and there is someone lurking, someone watching them, someone who starts killing them, and it turns into like a slasher. And honestly, like, I hated every single character in this book. Like, I was happy when they started dying because they were all so annoying, and like, were they even friends? Because they weren't like nice at all to each other. Like I said, I was relieved to see them go, basically. So, I was not invested in their survival, and they were really, really annoying me. So it really did not work for me very well. Like, there were a few scary moments that were fun to read, but overall it was just not really my thing. And this one was like around 100 pages, so I can't really talk much more about it than that without spoiling. But yeah, the characters like really, really, really annoyed me, and they just made everything like not really that enjoyable. So I am giving this one 2.5 stars. Okay, so I read You Better Watch Out, which honestly was more of a thriller than horror. I think it was just a thriller. Because, like, on Goodreads it says horror, but then I think it's on Storygraph, it says, like, thriller, and I'm like, yeah. Also, it wasn't, like, very Christmassy. Like, it's set around Christmas time, but it's not really, doesn't have a Christmas vibe or the horror vibe. It was just a thriller. And so basically we start following Eddie, and he is like going to rob some people, and he is actually like pretending to be helping those people to then rob them, but it turns out that they kidnapped him. So when he wakes up, he's like in what seems like a town like from the past, and the only people who are like in that town are him and some other people who were kidnapped as well. And there is, obviously someone who's there like sort of hunting them, and we learn that they sort of like in a way have something in common, and that might be why they're all there. And they're being attacked, they are being chased, they are being killed, and it's it's a slasher, and it was like fun-ish. I did like the like reveal. Like, I saw it coming a bit before it was revealed, but I still enjoyed it. Like, overall I enjoyed it. I had fun, even though fun seems like the wrong word to use here, but it was like nothing special. And like I said, it definitely wasn't like Christmassy. It didn't really have the Christmas vibe, and again, it wasn't really horror, so does it really fit here? maybe not, but I read it like for this video specifically, so it's gonna be here. The last 3 updates were filmed like all one after the other because I finished Nosferatu like last night, and then I read the Christmas Morning Massacre and You Better Watch Out both today. So that's why like the last 3 clips have all looked the same, because they were just filmed one after the other. And I don't really know where I'm gonna read next, but I still have like a bunch of books that I want to get to. So yeah, I have so many options, and I will, choose one of them, and I will be back when I finish it, because most of the ones that I have left are like pretty short. So I'm just going to, read them and be back to tell you about them. Okay, so I have more updates, and also like forgive my appearance and my voice because my allergies really decided to like come kick my ass today. So this is what we're working with, and I already took like my extra strong meds to see if I can, survive. But I am struggling and I can barely open my eyes. So like I was on a video call with my mom just before I turned on the camera to film, and like I could see, my face, and I was like, wow, I look so great to film right now. But like I said, I have updates. And so I read Dead of Winter, which turns out, I didn't know this, was actually nonfiction. And it was just, in my list of Christmas horror books to read. And I didn't even know it was nonfiction until I went to Goodreads to add it as, currently reading before actually starting to read it. And it said nonfiction. I was like, oh, okay. I haven't read a nonfiction book like for fun in a very long time. So I still read it, and it was basically like about the Christmas like traditions, like how they started and how they evolved into what they are now, because like centuries ago it used to be very different, and like all the situations, like conditions that made it like what it is now. And also it had like some of the more like dark myths about Christmas and like dark figures that are associated with Christmas as well. And it was really fun, actually. It was really nice to learn about all that, because like most of it I did not know. Like I had no idea. I had heard about Krampus, and like I had read books about Krampus actually last year, and like it was in one of the short stories or 2 of that I read this year as well. So like I knew about him, but like all the other beings that were talked about, I didn't really know them, like from different countries basically, and also like the main Christmas tradition, that like how it was before and like how it changed. I also had no idea, so it was really nice to learn about that. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm giving it 4 stars. So that was great. And I also read like today as well another book. It was a short story collection. I'm gonna like insert the B-roll now. And so the short story collection was Christmas in the Empty Cabin. And actually, like, not all of the short stories were about Christmas. There was one about Halloween. I mean, not Halloween, like the day after Halloween, so like the Day of the Dead, and about Thanksgiving. In one, I'm not sure it was even about like any specific like dates, but there were some that were definitely about Christmas. And like overall, I enjoyed it. Overall, they were pretty like creepy and scary. And like the one that gave the title to the book, I think was probably my favorite. But I just feel like a few of them, like they were very interesting ideas, and like they were very like cool starts to a story, but then they just ended. And like you get nothing after it. And I just feel like, yeah, like it was very, they felt unfinished. So I didn't, love that because like they were really cool concepts and I would have liked to, have gotten more like from that. Because like they felt like they ended on a cliffhanger, which is not what I was expecting from like a short story collection. So like I didn't love that, but I love the like creepiness about it. There was just one that I did not like because it was like maybe a page and a half, maybe 2 pages, and like we really got nothing. It just, again, it ended on like the cliffhanger, but like we didn't get enough before for me to even care that we didn't get more. So like I didn't care about that one, but the others, like I was interested, and I was creeped out, and I was liking it. So like I wanted more from them. And then there were like 2 or 3 that were more complete that I also enjoyed. And yeah, overall I had fun, but it was not like a perfect collection for me, I guess. And I think I'm giving it like 3.5 stars. So still mostly enjoyable. And yeah, that's it for now. I still have like, I think I have 9 horror Christmas books on my e-reader, and like I'm obviously not gonna read them all because I have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday-ish. I have like 3.5 days until I have to be done with this video, and on Thursday I doubt I'll be reading much, if anything. So I'm definitely not gonna get through all of those books. Maybe like 3 more, that would be great because they're like pretty short, so maybe I can get through 3 because like yesterday I read 2 and today I read 2 as well. So if I could keep that going, that would be great. But yeah, that is all for now, and I will be back when I read another book. Okay, so I have read another horror story collection, which is called Seasons Creepings. And as in the other books, they're set like around Christmas. And like I never know what to say about horror story collections without like spoiling what these stories were about, because I think it's fun going into them like not really knowing anything. But I did like most of them. I definitely like the first ones more than the last ones, but overall I enjoyed them. They were fun, they were creepy, they were Christmassy, and like that's it. I've read honestly like so many short story collections at this point that like they're all starting to blur together. And because like after this one I already read another one, and like they're all starting to blur together a little bit. But I enjoyed it, I had fun. Like I said, I'd like the first ones more than the last ones, but overall I had a good time, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I then read a novella that was called Christmas Eve on Haunted Hill, and in this one we were following a guy who has like gone back to his hometown on Christmas Eve after like a lot of years, and basically like his father had killed like their entire family. Like he was the only survivor, that guy that had gone back to his hometown, and like his dad had killed everyone on Christmas Eve like many years ago, and now he was back to basically go back to the house and finish the job that his dad started and just die as well. And we also follow like some people that are going like into the house where like the massacre happened because they want to just go into a maybe haunted house because they have heard rumors that it is haunted, especially like on that night. And that guy that has gone back to his hometown, like he runs into a friend at a bar before like heading up to the house, and his friend is like trying to, stop him from going like on with his plan. And they do like go together to the house, and they find like the other people who are there, and they are definitely being attacked by something, like by the thing that is haunting the house. And we see them, fight that thing. And I like it. I definitely like it more as the book progressed, because like in the beginning I didn't really care that much, but then I started to, get more into it and get more invested, and I did like the ending. And yeah, definitely had like some scary moments and some creepy moments, and not the most like Christmassy, but it was set on Christmas Eve, so there is that. And I gave it 3.5 stars. So I read another horror short story collection, and I think this one was the shortest out of all of them. And so like the stories were also like the shortest out of all of them. And like I said in the previous one, like they're all kind of like starting to blur together a little bit, because I've read like so many in such a short period of time that like if you ask me about like a specific short story, like I couldn't tell you like to which book it belonged, but I enjoy them. In this one, I actually liked the last ones more than I like the first ones, but again, overall, like I had a good time. I had fun. It was creepy. This one, I feel like it was like definitely, Christmassy. It was definitely very, Christmas centered. And yeah, it was creepy. It was Christmassy. It had some scary moments, which I enjoyed. And I also gave this one 3.5 stars. Okay, so I have read the last book for this video, and it was called It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. And like at first I thought it was just, a novel with like one story. But then as I read like the first 3 chapters, they were all like following different characters. They were like they had different settings. They were all about like different things. And I was like, okay, so maybe this is another short story collection, even though it didn't say it was a short story collection anywhere. So I was very confused. But then on the 4th chapter, things like started to connect. Like it did have like new characters, but also like was connected to a previous story and like previous characters. I was like, okay, so maybe we're gonna follow a bunch of things and it's all gonna come together in the end. And that is exactly what happened. And I really liked it. And in the first stories, I mean, I guess in all of them, it was always about like a being, an entity that it was either summoned or like appeared. And it was all like around Christmas. And, there was this being that was, scary. And like again at the end it all came together, like it all connected, it all made sense together. And I really really liked it. Like I liked all the stories individually, but like together they were even better. And we were like following Santa and like his elves. We were following a guy called Trap that he had like a company of like children's toys, and he like only really cared about profit. And even like during this Christmas time, He was making everyone like work overtime, and both Santa and him, and then like a bunch of other characters were like visited by some entity, some being. And there were like some kids as well that like they wanted some like time off from school, so like they wanted a lot of snow, and they also like summoned something to make it snow so they wouldn't have school, but that something was also like way scarier than they thought. And I really liked it. I had a lot of fun, and even the end, like I thought it was gonna end in a way, but it ended like I still had hope it would end in like the way that I really wanted it to end, and it did. So even the end, like I really liked it. I honestly had such a good time. When I realized that like it was gonna be a bunch of stories and they were all gonna connect, I was hooked. And yeah, I had such a good time. Like it was very Christmassy, it was very like scary and creepy, and that was exactly what I wanted from this, and I really liked it. And I gave it 4.5 stars. So we definitely ended this on a high note, which is very fun, and I am very happy about that. And yeah, overall I had a lot of fun with this video. I got to 12 books, which is a lot. And I was like towards the end of this video, I was getting a little, burned out on the Christmas horror theme, because that's all that I've been reading for the past like couple weeks. So I was getting a little bit tired of it. But honestly, like this last book was so good. Maybe like 3 previous ones, I was like, okay, this is all starting to feel like the same, but this one, really liked it. And so I have here my final ratings for all of the books, and I'm just gonna, read them out because there are 12. There is no way that I would have memorized all of it. And so for Candy Cane Kills Again, I gave 4 stars. Then 12 Days of Christmas Horror, I gave 3.5 stars. Christmas with the Dead, I gave 4 stars. No Story 2, I gave 2.5 stars. The Christmas Morning Massacre, I also gave 2.5 stars. You Better Watch Out, I gave 3.5 stars. The Dead of Winter, I gave 4 stars. And then Christmas in the Empty Cabin, Seasoned Scrapings, Christmas Eve on Haunted Hill, and Silent Fright, I gave 3.5 stars. And the last book, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear, I gave 4.5 stars. So overall, I had a good time, and my average rating was 3.54. So, 3.5, which is what I did rate most of the books, and then there were some that were above, and there were some that were below. But it does make sense that the average was 3.5, and that is like how I feel about these books in general. 3.5 does feel like a good rating overall. But yeah, I'm very happy that we ended on this great book. I am definitely more in this Christmas spirit after this video. And yeah, that is it. And I want to wish you a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have just, some great days in general. And yeah, that is it. That is everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!